Hello, everyone. Hope you all are doing well. If you can let me know where everyone is checking in at, you can type it in the chat. And let me know if you can hear me okay. I want to make sure that the audio sounds good. We're going to give people, there we go. I'm going to give people a few minutes before we get started. I know everybody's been pretty busy. I know I'm in Texas, so we've had a lot of storms. Well, snow, not snow. I take that back. I'm in Houston, Texas, so it's a lot of ice. It's been very cold. So trying to get used to that. Um, but yeah, we're going to give a few minutes. We'll probably get started here in about 3 or 4 minutes to give people time um, to join us. I know. We're slate to have quite a few people join us today, so they might start trickling in over the next couple minutes. I'll just give them some time. You guys can get comfortable, grab you some snacks, water, whatever you need to help you out. And we'll get started here in a couple minutes. Awesome. Thank you, Jesse, for letting me know. I want to make sure that you guys can hear me. Tallahassee, Florida. I've been to Destin. I've been to Orlando. I've been to Hollywood. I've been to Miami. I've been to Pensacola. I have never been to Tallahassee. Am I missing something about not going to Tallahassee? Another minute and we'll get started. All right, let's go ahead and get started. And everyone else who starts joining us, we'll just let them jump in where they are. So thank you, hugely, big time for joining us today. Today's workshop is a workshop to help kind of clear up the noise. I know, the current iteration the current version of AI has been like the biggest hype going on, and there's a lot of noise online, a lot of people throwing their 2 cents in the hat, and, yeah, it can kind of throw you off because you don't know who to trust or if the information is correct or if what you're given is snake oil, just to be plainly put. So today's workshop is kind of give you a more um, just a demystifying version of the basics of AI for nonprofits, and just a more comfortable space to get you to understand what AI actually is, how it works, some real world applications for nonprofits. And I don't want you to feel like you need a computer science degree to understand a lot of this information. I made this particular workshop very plain as far as the concepts, so you don't have to have any prior knowledge of AI. And I'll explain everything as clearly as possible. And there's going to be time at the end for a Q&A. So, if there's anything that wasn't clear that you need help with understanding, feel free to, ask questions. But at the end, we're going to have a Q&A session. And I'll keep this relatively brief, about 25, 30 minutes, and just leave enough space for a Q&A. So if you have tons of questions, you fully have the space to ask those. And then what the progress of the workshop is to start at the fundamentals and just work our way up. And by the end of it, things, like how AI learns or just the ethics around it is going to feel intimately familiar for you. So let's jump right in. All right. So a little bit about me. My name is George Woodard. I'm a marketing operations specialist and AI consultant. I have been doing this now for over 10 years, working with nonprofits, B2B enterprises, and government agencies across the world. My primary lane of expertise is to help teams with their sales, marketing, and operations technology, and fixing those bottlenecks to help improve their processes and create growth systems so they can remove the headaches and sleep better at night. So I own my own consultancy, L Square Media Group. And again, I've been doing this for over 10 years. So much of this information here you're going to learn is not just theory, it's battle tested experience that you're going to get. So you're going to actually get some information that I have actually encountered with my own work rather than just a bunch of theory. So jumping off the agenda. So with a lot of the noise that's going on, like I said, it's hard to understand. So what today's agenda is going to cover: first, what is artificial intelligence? You're going to get a clear, simple understanding of what AI actually is. Next, what AI is not. So I'm going to remove a lot of the confusion that surrounds AI about what it isn't, what it's what it is, what it is not, and debunk some myths for you. Explain how AI learns. So you're going to understand how AI learns and operates and learn. And when I say learn, I'm talking about learn the data that it is accessing. See some examples of AI in action. So, see how well it applies to you for your day-to-day work and operations. So you'll see how you can also effectively use it. And last but not least, the ethics and risks. So learning about the ethical responsibility we all have and the risk involved with using AI. So kicking it off, what is artificial intelligence? Or short story, what is AI? And really that can be summed up in three different points. So first one is the science of making things smart. AI really, when you strip it all the way down, it really enables computers to perform things that normal human intelligence would do. Understanding language, recognizing patterns, making decisions, basically doing a lot of the mundane or repetitive things. That's where AI comes into place and actually operates and excels the best. Two, it's already part of our everyday life. I know with the current iteration with like ChatGPT, Perplexity, all these video generative AI platforms, it seems like this new phenom, but actually AI has been around a lot longer than most people realize. And the way that shows up is the king of all kings. If you go to Google and you type in something to look for it, the search engine is considered AI. If you go into IMDb to try to get a movie recommendation, the way that works, the algorithm that makes its suggestion, that's AI. And then one of the age old features that most people just glaze over because we've been using it for so long, if you're sending text messages on your phone and it's auto corrected, that's also considered AI. So that's something to think about. It's been around a lot longer than we normally realize. And then last but not least, learning from data. So AI actually learns its information from examples better than it does explicitly hard coded or hard programmed for every single scenario. So basically, what that means is that instead of feeding AI like every detailed little nuance, it learns better from providing it examples. So it doesn't um, overload, but there are risks involved, which I'll address those later with the later on in the workshop. So wait, what? Excuse me, what AI actually is not, and we're gonna bust some common myths. A lot of times, many people make AI sound like this boogeyman in the shadows. So I'm gonna bust some myths for you here. First of all, it's not a super brain. It's I don't know if you guys have ever watched it. I'm a millennial, so Power Rangers was a big thing, and Zordon was something that come up a lot in those episodes. And he's like this single mastermind brain in the operation. That's not what AI is. It's not this one supercomputer sitting somewhere in some remote part of the world. It's a collection of different technologies and tools for specialized tasks. So each platform, Google, Gemini, Perplexity, ChatGPT, Claude, et cetera, et cetera, they're powered by what's called learning language models. And the plain way of putting those is like a big database of information. That's all it is. And that's the brain behind each AI platform. It takes information from that. And then now, with some of these platforms having additional extensions to connect to other systems, it's able to gather more data faster and also more in real time as well. So it's not some single super brain just sitting somewhere. AI, for the most part, it's not replacing all jobs. I know, this whole fear mongering happens with AI is replacing everybody. AI is going to do this, that, and the third. Um, is there room for where AI can perform better than human nuance? Yes. One of the most prominent ways is with assembly lines because it's repetitive, mundane, and even then there's issues with trying to implement AI with robotics and stuff. But as far as replacing all jobs, no. It's the goal really is more about augmenting human behavior, not behavior, I'm sorry, human work rather than placing us all together. And it handles and where, like I said, where it thrives the best, it handles repetitive tasks while we focus on the creative work. Because one of the things, and I'll mention this in a second, one of the things that AI does not do well is addressing the nuance of human behavior. It's such a complex thing, and AI is one of these like AB type systems. So that's why it struggles with trying to mimic human behavior. AI systems is not 100% objective. It makes mistakes, and I'm sure you've used like ChatGPT or Claude or something, and it has that disclaimer at the bottom. This system can make mistakes. Double check, make sure everything is correct. um, and it can reflect bias, and which we'll address that later on in the workshop too, because they're not magically perfect and they're unbiased by default. So the way it works is it gives feedback or information based on the information it gets. So while many of them and one of them AI systems have real-time web search capabilities, most on-demand data that is um, provided or most data that it has access to is usually behind about 2 or 3 years. So that's why it's always good to use it, gather, get an idea, but always the final product should be from your own creative ability. And last but not least, it's not sentient. So despite Hollywood, today's AI doesn't possess some self-awareness or emotions. Uh, I like to think about the movie I, Robot with Will Smith, or Terminator 2 with Arnold Schwarzenegger, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's not that. It simulates conversation, but as far as feelings or understanding of the human existence or nuance, it doesn't have the ability to do that. And that's why it's such a challenge to create quality creative content, such as copywriting. Videos may have improved, but it's still challenges there, and it's because it just doesn't understand the human experience or the nuance behind it. We can improve on it, but even then it's still going to fall short because it's just not human, so it doesn't automatically pick that information up. So to understand how to understand how AI learns the information that is given, one of the topics or things that you have to learn is what's called machine learning. And the way this works is kind of in a downward pattern here. First is training data. So, like I said, there's not any program set rules or format. But what happens is we feed the computer thousands, hundreds of thousands of examples. And for instance, labeled cat and dog photos. So, you have an index of cat and dog pictures. That's the training data. That's where we're going to start. And then the next layer is what's called pattern detection. What this system does is detects pattern in the data that you're provided. So in the case of the cat and dog, it might notice that cats have pointy ears versus dogs coming in different or certain sizes based on its breed. And then the next layer is trial and error. So the system itself tries to make guesses, checks if it's right, adjusts itself, as well as human input. Or a lot of times you see like ML or machine learning engineers or prompt engineers or AI engineers come in and double check and adjust and fine tune those those checks or the information that it's providing or giving out, and as well as checking, and it improves throughout those iterations. It's constantly going again. It as an AI is constantly checking that information, as well as having someone aside on the side of it also checking that information to make sure that it's accurate info that is providing. And then eventually you get to the bottom, which is prediction. So eventually the model gets to a point, or the AI system gets to a point where it can generalize and correctly identify new examples it hadn't seen before. And that's where like the real-time web search capability comes into play. So the the AI system has learned enough of the data that it has been provided. And once it has gone through that data enough times to identify the patterns, at some point it'll understand the information that is given. Again, from an objective point of view, then if there are examples, or this is if you've ever heard of this is where kind of once it gets to a point where it's understand its data, then it gets to a point where it could hallucinate. And this is why was saying before that, you always want to check the information, because excuse me, it will recognize the patterns and then make predictions based on its data. But then again, it's not always correct. So that's when the human part of it comes into play to be able to correct it. Or if you're given ideas, you use your final judgment and what I like to say, season it to taste to make it more believable or make it accurate for however you choose to use it. And if it's not seen the examples before, it'll try to do it itself, but it's a lot of times not always accurate. So that's why we mention that. So when you start thinking about, how to utilize AI, you always think about like ChatGPT, using it for content and all those stuff. There's a bunch of different ways for nonprofits to be able to leverage AI. So here's a couple ways. First and foremost, donor management. If you use a donor management system, much like in the for-profit realm when they use customer or CRMs, you have in again with for-profit companies, they call it sales pipeline, and then or lead management. And in those systems, they use scoring. And the purpose of it is to judge the how should I put that? Judge how engaged a particular lead may be with your content, with your outreach, et cetera, et cetera. So for nonprofits, donor management scoring works the same way. You can use AI to help score your donors to give predictive patterns. See the patterns that you have in their giving. Do you recognize that they give quarterly? Do they do monthly? Do they do yearly? Or is there certain campaigns that may be going on where they actually give? And also flag at-risk supporters before they lapse. Maybe someone who normally gives on a certain cadence hasn't given in a while. So AI can help you score that and identify proactively that, hey, such and such has not um, provided, given any type of contribution in a while. Just want to check in or alert you like, hey, you might want to reach out, however that looks. But that's one way in donor management how AI can jump in. Grant writing, you know, of course, AI with ChatGPT and other things, you can always draft content. So it can help you draft proposals, summarize program information and outcomes, and tailor applications for funder priorities. Again, the using the generative AI sense with drafting content to help you improve it. I always say season it to taste. So you could come up with a 15-page proposal using ChatGPT, but always go through, double check, triple check, make sure it's speaking the voice that you're actually normally used to, and that sounds less or not robotic and sounds more conversational as you're talking to someone. Another way how you can use AI, volunteer coordination. So, how AI can work here is optimize scheduling, match skills to opportunities. So, you have a database of volunteers, there may be certain events going on. And when you run a analysis there, using AI, you can match certain volunteers to certain events because of the skills. And then also automate reminder communication. So let's say you send out a email to your volunteer database, let them know XYZ events coming up. We need volunteers. You have people sign up, and then where AI can step in, automation, it can send out reminders to help keep that top of mind for the volunteers themselves. And last but not least, communication and outreach. Just plainly put, drafting newsletters, personalized thank yous, segmenting off audiences for targeted campaigns, social media posts, press releases, all of the above is just plainly put, just using AI to draft that creative content. Again, always get it, use AI to draft the draft version of your content, but always use your own human understanding to create the final version or season it to taste, as I like to say. So that'll help you out big time. Uh, from a generative AI standpoint or a creative standpoint, generative AI creates new content by learning from the large data, as I mentioned before, and remixes it into original output. So, there's many different cases that you have here. So, image generation tools like Dolly, which is DALL-E, or Midjourney, can create unique images for you from simple text prompts. So for example, the images actually that you see here, the first two, that those were created using AI that were added in here. And creating your text prompt, I always say the more detailed, the better. And that's one of the nuances with using AI, is that a lot of people think they just throw anything in and get what they need out. But the better the prompt means more details that you add to it, the better the output that you get from it. Another way is text creation. Of course, ChatGPT and similar models, they can write the articles, marketing copy, newsletters, PR, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and all that creative content that you need. Your landing page content, if you're doing a website redesign or redevelopment project, if you're trying to ramp up your social media posts, using ChatGPT or something to create your content, your post, or ad copy if you want to run social media ads. I just thought about this with nonprofits. You guys have possible access to the Google Ad Grant Program, which they give you $10,000 per month. And there's search ads that you would use, and those are still it's still valuable to use those. I actually work with a nonprofit now that I provide support for that. um but yeah, to help you create like your headlines and your text that gonna go in your search ads, chat gpt is a good resource there to help you do that. And data summarization. You have these long reports, any survey responses, or even meeting or board notes, and you want to turn into some quick summaries to send out to executive leaders, other stakeholders, or to update everyone about what's going on. AI is a great way, or generative AI is a great way to do that. In the realm of data summarization, if you have financial data, any analytics that you're trying to do, maybe you're a nonprofit that tracks a lot of data when it comes to maybe conservation, you know, um, financial data, whatever the case may be. You create a data dashboard to be able to do that, and AI can help provide those summarizations for people who choose to partake of that info. And another way, as far as AI in action, you have automation and optimization. So some practical uses here: online chatbots. It's very, very popular these days. These chatbots can handle the common questions 24/7. If you set up the AI bot to you tune it to where, if you're getting a lot of reoccurring themes and questions and inquiries from people, no matter who they are, and you can then fine tune and feed this information to the chatbot, then that would allow the chatbot to answer those questions for you, freeing up your time to focus on more strategic initiatives rather than doing the admin mundane type task every day. Another is fraud detection, monitoring things in real time, to spot unusual patterns and prevent fraud. So if you're doing sales online and your checkout process, maybe you're using Stripe, there's fraud detection built in there. If it monitors transactions in real time to make sure there's no fraud involved. Um, Another is logistics optimization. What this again looks like: volunteer scheduling, volunteer management, your donor management system, using it for automating your social media content. Um, I actually spoke at a WordPress conference. WordPress has this huge flagship conference here in the US. They have them actually around the world, but the biggest one is here in the US. And I spoke at it a couple years back, and I did a lightning workshop on how to create an automated social media um, content posting system using automation. And that would allow you to use WordPress, a free plugin called ACF, and Zapier, to be able to automate your content posting to all your social media platforms. So that's another way that you can do it. And then last is forecasting, your donor giving patterns. See where, looking at the patterns of how people are providing their contributions to your organization, and the retention prediction of your donors as well. And that'll help you understand the financial health, one, but two, that also help you with planning, because if you can identify the patterns in which people are giving, that'll let you know when you should do outreach or how you should tailor your communications and marketing campaigns as well. Okay, with coming up here, you have the ethics and risks. With any technology that you use, there's always risk and ethical implications involved. With using AI, again, it's not this perfect system that it's kind of made out to be. So there's always those risks that come with it, and some of those include bias. Again, AI learns from a lot of public data, so bias can occur, and especially if that data lacks diversity. So then AI can behave in a biased way. There's a risk of misinformation, and I'm pretty sure you've encountered this if you've used AI long enough. It can produce answers that may sound convincing or any some giving you some great ideas, but factually they're completely wrong. And like I said earlier, this is what's called hallucinations. And this is why there are also disclaimers added where it says, XYZ can make mistakes. Please double check your responses. That's specifically why that is there. Um, Another risk here is privacy. With the emphasis on donor. I can't talk today. Emphasis on donor data that you have, AI can analyze this data, but it can intrude on privacy, but that's only if it's not handled correctly and carefully. So that's why compliance is such a huge thing, making sure you have security measures in place, checks and balances to ensure that the privacy of people's information is not taken advantage of. And then last but not least, you have accountability. So AI is used in high stakes sensitive areas. That's why they have HIPAA compliance. So we have a responsibility to make sure there's clear transparency when systems are making wrong decisions. So we have to make sure we stay on top of that to ensure there's no type of major issues that can occur down the line. And to ensure ethical AI, in relation to this, is growing alongside technology to maximize the benefits and minimize the harm. So organizations are actively developing frameworks to ensure AI is as ethical as it can be. For example, AI is used in hiring that may be regularly audited for fairness. You know, um, I don't if you've ever heard of it. Most people have, but it's called applicant talent systems (ATS). That's one major tool that a lot of hiring teams use to screen applicants when they're applying for jobs. So they have to be regularly audited for fairness at all times. And researchers are also creating techniques for explainable AI, so even complex models can highlight why they made a specific decision in that case. So, to ensure AI like this remains ethical, here are some efforts that are happening. One is transparency, making AI's decisions explainable, making sure AI clearly explains why it made the decision that it made. Implementing fairness, regular testing of all models for biases across demographics. You always want to make sure that the system is fair. You're trying to tune AI as much as possible to be objective as possible. So you don't want any subjectiveness happening in AI, because then it'll start going off the rails. One of the most important, security. Was anything tech related, protecting against malicious actors or attacks. That's put in many different ways, but basically protecting yourself against malicious intent. And there are always bad actors, no matter what technology. Something I've shared for years is that no system is 100% safe. Everyone has to kind of go through the fire, so to speak, when it starts to become popular technology. So there's always bad actors or threats to public tech. So safeguarding the use of it makes sure there's ethical compliance in place. Governance, so setting and enforcing policies for responsible usage. So you always want to make sure there's governance in place. if you don't, there's going to be anarchy, just plainly put. So you want to make sure there's guidelines, there's uh, set rules or frames around the AI usage so everyone can use it responsibly whenever they're trying to access AI. Now, what you should do next, here are some steps that you can take when it comes to AI for you. So, understand it better. With the right knowledge and intention, AI is simply a tool. Anyone can leverage this to become more productive. All of us have been kind of guided towards using AI as kind of a lifeline, so to speak. And I will be completely honest, I use AI all the time. But using with the right intention is where it shines best. Anyone can leverage it to become more productive. Anyone can use it to help them improve. So, for example, for my own work, I use it to draft a lot of my content. So if you ever get a chance, you can follow me on LinkedIn. A lot of my content has been a draft of that information, and then I go in and expand or expound on it and provide my knowledge behind the draft that I originally created. What else you could do? You could explore. So if you're not doing it, you should explore different tools. There are a bunch of different tools out there that solve different different problems. One of my recent favorites is Opus Clips, OPUS Clips. What it does is repurpose content for you big time, specifically video. So there's like workshops like this. If I want to, post a clip of the workshop itself, I can run it through Opus Clips. It'll take an hour video, chop it down into 2 or 3 minute segments, and then I can schedule it to post on my social media. So that fills up my content calendar. So that's less manual tasks that I have to do. So, using, exploring tools like that, see what's out there, what you can do with AI. Any of the generative AI, of course, ChatGPT, Claude, that's one of my personal favorites because I'm very technical. So Claude works well with that. But use it to generate emails, again, social media, or just explore all the features of AI that's out there for you. And I want you to apply, do some practical applications, identify internally how you can use AI to improve your work, and look for the tools that would help you do that better. I challenge you, identify one thing this week that you'll explore with AI within your work and actually apply it and verify. So while you're using it, make sure you verify what it's providing you. Double check the outputs, be mindful of the ethics, make sure it's not totally biased. Make sure you double check, triple check, recheck the information it's giving you to ensure that it's correct, fair, and ethical. All right. So we've covered a lot of the basics of AI, and we have a lot of room. Like I said, I was want to make enough room here for people to ask their questions. So the floor is open. You are able to drop some questions in the chat. I want you to go ahead, shoot away when it comes to AI or any marketing operations questions, period. If you have them, just drop them in the chat and I'll definitely check them out and we'll start answering. So let's see, Janelle. Do you remember that they are gathering all your data in the global trend globally and locally? I understand your concern there, Janelle. There is so AI, like anything in the wrong hands, can become a threat. So I totally get what you're referring to. Much of what I'm here is taking your piece of the pie and making sure it's working for your benefit rather than working against you. But I get where you're coming from there. So yeah, the skepticism is still warranted, and it's okay. I understand because it can be, in theory, it can be scary when you think about it, because of a lot of the information it has access to. But also, there's a flip side to it. It only works as best as the info that you feed it. So we have to, again, back I was saying with the ethics and responsibility we have to be mindful of that, and also take charge and responsibility of the information that we feed it. Um, let's see. You want to use 4 years of proposals to create a template proposal. Recommend. So, if I'm understanding this correctly, you have a repository or a database of 4 years of proposals, and you want to create a template proposal. And do I have a recommended tool and process? Really, first of all, having that many proposals is a great start to create a template. I'll give you a game plan that I use for it, actually in that similar vein. So, um, quite naturally in my career, my work, I submit proposals all the time. So what I did at one point is take, I think, roughly about 10 to 15 proposals, a mix between wins and losses, and put it into AI to get it to analyze the information that's submitted. And again, this is going back to what I said: the more detailed, the better when it comes to prompting. Um, had it, I can't remember the exact prompt because it was a long time ago, but essentially, I told it to realize I'm mute. Okay, I don't know what part you got, but I try to feed the AI system to let them know what proposals were winning ones, which ones were losing ones, and get them to analyze the information in all of the proposals and also the feedback that I may have gotten from the organization or business that I submit the proposal to, so they can give me, I mean, so AI can provide me a template of some sort for my proposals. And it's been helpful. I mean, really, that's the gist of it, is to get the get AI to look at your proposals in detail, look at the content of your proposals. The key or the biggest winning piece of it is making sure you, one, tell it which proposals are winning or losing, so it can objectively understand, you know, which proposals are good, and also see which ones lost, and they can identify the patterns as to why it lost. Also, on top of that, if you are able to get feedback from the people you submitted the proposal to, then that will be extremely helpful. So yeah, just do that. Submit the proposal in the AI, put the, as many as you can, and have it look through the proposals that you created, add in the feedback that you may have gotten on the proposals, tell it which ones are winning, which one are losing, and then it could help you and then ask it to create a template based on your brand voice and structure, and just take it from there. And again, it'll give you a good start, but I always say use it as a template, use it as a starting point, but don't make it the final draft. So just get what it provides you and this season it to taste. So I hope that helps, Janelle. Tom, what if you're going after new money that is not related to existing proposals? I'm not completely clear, Tom, on the question that you're asking here. Um, could you try to re-emphasize or restate that question a little differently so I can make sure I understand what you're asking? And anybody else, these are great questions, great concerns, great ideas here. Anybody else has anything, feel free to drop your questions or concerns in the chat for me. Okay. Okay, I got you. Okay, so I'm talking about existing, but if you don't have existing proposals for a grant, what are good starting points for getting drafts? Gotcha. Okay, I assume that's what you were trying to say, but I just wanted to make sure. Okay, so if you don't have existing proposals or proposal templates, what I also suggest is taking the you have to do a little extra footwork. I'll say that. So first thing, so I'm gonna give you an example from my standpoint if I were in your shoes. So all right, I don't have any proposals, any templates. I'm starting from scratch. Found a grant that I'm interested in. So first thing I would do is first look through the information or the requisite um, of the grant and information it's requiring, asking for the details of the grant, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Gather that info first. Take notes on your own. Um, Pull out or identify what you know are absolutes. So if it's asking for specific data, you know that's what's required. If it's looking for um, certain criteria that you have to be eligible for, that's absolute. Then second, um mention, well, when you're doing the prompt, say something, take that if I'm sorry, let me back up. So take that information, identify the absolutes, set those notes to the side. Then next, take the information about the grant that you do have, put that in AI, chat gpt, will go that route, and provide those notes one alongside your prompt to let AI know, just give you an idea. Hey, we're looking to apply for this particular grant. This is absolutes, or this is the information that I know is for certain, and that we are eligible for. We want to apply for this grant, and we're looking to create a grant proposal that speaks to, or grant proposal that satisfies the requirements for this grant objectively. That's a key word you want to put in there, because you don't want it to start hallucinating. So you can add that in there and then hit submit. And once it gives you your data or give you your information, then you can fine tune or create your proposal from there. That's one way. Another way, or additional steps that you could do, is those parts that I told you about, getting the notes. Also, look up the organization that's providing the grant. That's another thing. You can get some homework to understand who actually is giving out the grant to you, to understand what they're looking for. If there are past grants that they have provided and people who have won, or organizations who have won those grants, look for that information. Reason why I say that is because, and also social media, I'm not saying go back 10 years, but at least look at the last couple years or so. And the reason why I say that is you can understand the language that the particular organization speaks, or the way they choose to communicate. And that way you can fine tune and tailor your proposal to be able to speak in the same way that they're accustomed to. There's always verbiage when it comes to grant. I'm not a grant writer, so I've never done that. But I know there is verbiage that a lot of grants are looking for. So if you know of that information, it's great to put that into your prompt. But doing all of that homework and then adding it into to your prompt would help you fine tuning and tailoring the proposal. And don't just dump it all in at one time, but do it in iterations. So, first we have a grant that we want to apply for. Here's the information about that grant. Can you draft maybe an understanding of what they're looking for? And then once it gives you its output, say, okay, here's the notes that I've got and the things that we know for sure we qualify for, or what we understand about the grant. And then, can you compare that with your information and keep going from there? And then say, hey, here's previous grant recipients, either for this specific grant or for another grant. Can you identify patterns in what they're looking for this way? And then here's some of their content or their information about the organization to help better understand. So you do it in iterations like that, and eventually you can get to a template that will be very very close, or at least as perfect as possible to what you need to submit. And I'm not guarantee you'll win it, but it will get you a further along because you are essentially tailoring the proposal to what they're looking for and also how they communicate, so it'll be very relatable and a good choice for the person that's reading it. So I hope that helps. Okay, you got another one. Good suggestions, thank you, appreciate that. You were late to. It's okay. You're late to me. Are you using a general chatbot? Something like, oh, that's a better way of ragging. Or so I'm to kind of clarify what Tom is asking here. Are we using any specific AI tools that has a better way of handling AI approaches, or you looking at the deep research models? When it comes to chatbots, I mean, really, I would look at some of the I try to I'm a big proponent of not reinventing the wheel. So if it's chatbot based, stick to what's out there, like mini chat, drift, things like that. Now, if you're looking for something from a research perspective, um, from it's really objective. I mean, not objective, it's subjective of which platforms perform the best based on what you're using it for. Now, the caveat is, in my opinion, I'm gonna say that, is that some perform better at doing certain tasks than others. Example, with ChatGPT, that, in my opinion, is a more general use, creative AI system. So if you're doing like content writing, grant writing, or image generation, ChatGPT works good. That's more, if it's general usage. I'm a huge user of Claude. I'm a super user of Claude. I pay their monthly subscription, $100 a month personally, because Claude, in my usage, has been the most objective with what I need. And on top of that, I have built out personalized AI agents, so each agent performs different tasks for different reasons, whether it's coding, and that's where to my opinion, Claude performs best, is a lot of coding and technical tasks. But I've also customized agents for like strategy and review and all that type of thing, content writing and things. And I've fed it like a lot of information. It's kind of a cheat code. I'm gonna show you this, but like this is, for example, just give you an example. This is a book right here called 12-Week Year. It's a book on like productivity, and I use it to um that book right there can help you organize, like, getting yourself organized to be more productive. You can get more done in 12 months than others do. I mean, get more done in 12 weeks than others do in 12 months. That's the sub caption. So create an agent around that. So when I'm coming up to a time that I need to organize a lot of work and tasks and events going on, I can tell AI, my agent, like, hey, this is my agenda, or this is a lot of stuff that's coming up. Um, Provide me kind of like a sample way of scheduling out, or how I can work my work around a lot of this stuff that's going on. So that's how I like to use Claude. So that's what I like about that. Um, in the past couple months, I just got into Google LM or Notebook LM. It's very good as far as being objective. Notebook LM does a very, very great job of understanding information and pulling out what it sees versus trying to be creative and generate something that's not there or hallucinating. And I really appreciate that. And I'm still testing of what as far as use cases and ideas I have for using it. But really, it boils down to what your needs are when it comes to AI. And then there's others out there like Grok and Perplexity and Gemini and all the other things. Really, a lot of the AI boils down to your use. What do you plan on using it for? How often do you plan on using it? And that will help you make that decision at some point. And you can do some research. Reddit is always a good place, specifically for this topic, to try to find out which ones work best for those specific use cases. And in the case of nonprofits, again, it really just depends. If you're Earth Science Conservatory, you might end up using a deep research model or a data analysis model, or you might have to create a custom model or a custom agent to be able to do some of the work. So it really just depends or boils down to what your use cases are. And once you get that, then you can find out which the AI systems work best for you. Let's see. Tom brought us another suggestion here to text folks. Can we get similar speaker call? Okay, I'll pass on that suggestion to some of our colleagues to see if we can think about that. I may even come up with one. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of Claude, so I've actually built out. I've had this idea as a pet project of creating agents, like pre-built agents, to turn around and sell it in like a marketplace somewhere. So I may. That's a great idea. I may come up with that as a workshop, and it would have to be longer. So an hour is not enough. I'll probably have to do that around 90 minutes, so close to an hour and a half, and show you how to create your own agents and also set them up within Claude. So I'll pass it on and see what we can come up with on that information. But good suggestion there. So yeah, we're kind of at the end here. I may could take one, maybe two more questions. If anybody has one, I'll wait like a minute or two to see if anybody's going to drop any other questions in the chat. But good stuff, everyone. I love these questions and suggestions. Okay. Tom, sure. Yeah. If you find me on LinkedIn, it's my first and last name, George Woodard the third. Look me up on LinkedIn, send me a connection request, and we can connect there. And a lot of what I'm teaching here is also information I put on my LinkedIn. So it's not gatekeep. I don't do that. So yeah, if you want to, feel free. Add me on here. Bob asks, will slides and recording be available? Recording, yes. The slides are not. I take that back. I will email the slides out. I'm able to send you guys an email post wrap up. So I'll send out a copy of the slides, yes, and a recording will also be available too. So once all of that is done, I'll send out a email to everyone to let everybody know that the information is available so you can go check it out. No problem. No problem, Bob. All right. Well, we're gonna wrap this up. We're at the end of it. I want to thank everyone for dropping in today. I love teaching. I love talking. So I love explaining a lot of this information. So I hope what you got out of it was very, very valuable. This is my website, my email, and then also I'm on LinkedIn. Again, if you look up my name, George Woodard the third, you'll see me on there. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. A lot of the information that I've shared here is also stuff I share on my social media, so it's nothing different. So I try to share as much as I can to be is try to educate as much as possible. But again, I want to thank you all for taking time out your day for dropping in with us. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out and I'm totally open to help. But I hope y'all take care, whatever neck of the woods you're in. I hope you stay warm and I hope you guys have a happy new year. Take care.